Good day, everybody. This is Jerry from BSK Garage. Today's video, we're going to hook up a Canbus controller to this Toto Android Apple CarPlay stereo that is eventually going to be installed in the 2011 Dodge Cummins 3500. Now, in order to properly install the stereo, to get the steering wheel controls work and to integrate with the factory Canbus system, you need a interface, Canbus interface, and this is the RP4 CH11. Basically, if you don't know what this is, it tells you right at the top of the instructions. It allows the replacement of a factory radio in select Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep vehicles with MS CAN or LSFT CAN data bus radios. Using this interface will retain factory features such as steering wheel controls, vehicle entertainment system, and the factory audio amplifier when the original radio is removed. This kit comes with two plugs. I got them both on the table right here. The first one is this kind of more square one, and then the second one is this one. So going on, if you you're not sure, if you Google Mopar connector fix, it'll come up to a website, and you can look up every Mopar connector for your make and model of vehicle, and it'll tell you what the connector is, what the pinout is, and everything else. So this is the connector that I'm going to be hooking up. Now, this is where some people get a little bit scared about the wiring. If you look in your instructions, it tells you what each wire is for, and basically you just join those up with your aftermarket stereo, which should be labeled, and you just match them. So I'm going to be soldering all my connections. I got the TS100 soldering iron, which is by far the best soldering iron in the world that I think. I got some heat shrink right here, torch to melt the heat shrink, wire cutters. This may be a Snap-on brand, but aftermarket ones make some that are exactly the same. This is the best wire stripper, crimper on the market, in my personal opinion. So I'm going to start lining up some of these and get set up. So I'm going to start off with the power wires first. Yellow is, according to the instructions on both wiring harness, is battery 12 volt plus. The red is power accessory. And then the orange and white one right there is illumination output, which will connect to the dimmer on that one. Now, if you'll notice, there is a red and white. That is the parking brake output ground. Now, this is just personal preference that I like to solder all my connections. It is not necessarily needed. The next important wire you don't want to mess up is the chassis ground. So once you have your three powers and your ground, your unit should power up. Won't have any sound because we don't have the speaker wires hooked up yet. Okay, I'm going to point this section out. It's very important because I actually screwed up and I had to change it. So on the instructions, it says green is reverse output plus. That's all fine and dandy, except there's two green wires. There's this one here, that's solid green. And then there's this one here, that's green and black. And then this one here that's tied together with the navigational outputs, which is solid green. Now the vehicle connector also has a green for the speaker. So these two wires, the green and the green black, belong to the speaker. The green that's tied into the navigational outputs is the one for the reverse output. Now this is important, and this has to reference off your stereo only, not what I'm doing, because your stereo may be wired differently. But on mine, pin 13 pink, rear camera plus, this wire will provide a signal to a head unit when the vehicle is in reverse. This will trigger the screen to show the video from the rear view camera. If it is not connected, the head unit will not display camera's video on the screen automatically when you put the vehicle in reverse. So this only applies if you're hooking up a rear view camera, or if you plan on hooking up a rear view camera in the future. This is what you have to do. But make sure you have the right green wire that's tied into the navigational outputs. So I got the red and white hooked up to the brown on my harness. I got it covered up. I'm going to show you what that is in a second. So the red and white is parking brake output. And on mine is pin 3, the brown. And that is, this wire is used to detect if the vehicle's handbrake is applied, and system will disable video playback while the vehicle is in motion. Leave it alone if your vehicle's factory power plug does not have such a wire. So this next wire may confuse some people, but I will explain it. So this here is power antenna. Now power antenna, if you're used to wiring stereos, you would wire that to the on-sense on the amplifier. However, in a lot of modern vehicles, as in this Canbus controller, you're going to see right here, the blue is antenna on input, just like pin number 5, blue power antenna. This wire is to provide power supply to the signal booster of car antenna. Now, the vehicle we're installing this in has an amplifier, and that needs to get turned on. I'm going to show you that in just a second. Now this is where the amplifier comes into play. Blue and white, blue and white. Once again, this is how my harness is wired from the stereo. So blue and white is amp turn on input. Now blue and white right here, amplifier turn on. This wire will tell your amplifier to turn on whenever the head unit is powered up. Usually whenever the vehicle is turned on. And that's how in modern vehicles, if you have a factory amplifier, how it's going to get turned on. Everything is soldered up now except for 3 wires. I'm going to explain that in a second. All your speaker wires, I find a lot of systems are generic, but you can also double check. Like your gray solid to gray solid is usually front right plus input. And then of course with the line through is the negative. Now going back to the green wire, if you were confused what I was talking about earlier, you see the green wire that comes through this little plug right here that's going to plug into the back of the CAN bus module. That is the one that's not associated with the speaker, but indeed with the rear view camera. Now one way you can determine that pretty easy too is that in this gray plug, all your speaker wires are always paired up. See, there's your white, there's your speaker wires, there's your green, right? Your purples are paired up, and then there's your grays. That's how you can determine the speaker wire from the reverse wire. Now, okay, going back to 3 wires I don't have hooked up yet. One of them is the purple and white, which is not needed. It is labeled as vehicle speed output. Now, my only thing that I could maybe possibly think what that is that some vehicles, the faster you drive, your audio volume will go up, and then as you slow down, your audio volume will drop. Now, that's not needed for this stereo. But the other 2 wires are your steering wheel key wires right here. One get a little melted, and that will be used with this plug-in right here if needed. As you can see right there, see above chart for different radio type connections. So the steering wheel key, either one or the other or both of them may need be connected to that wire to make the steering wheel controls work. But in a nutshell, this is how this RP4 CH11 is going to be wired up to this Toto stereo, touchscreen, Android-based, Apple CarPlay, that I'm going to be installing in a 2011 Dodge Cummins, that you're going to see a video coming up with that pretty soon. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions or comments, post them below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. And I hope this explained a lot for you guys.